Welcome to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Two sports talking sports with those in the know on the Brouhaha Show.
Welcome to the Brouhaha, everybody. Glad you're able to join us tonight. Dale, it's always good to see you. I trust you had a good weekend.
I did. The weather was beautiful, and of course got out and did a few things, and also came back and watched some football.
There was some great football this weekend, there's no doubt. What we got planned for us today, Dale? I mean, we'll go ahead and get to it. We got it. What kind of surprise you got for us today?
Well, we have Lee Roberts. He's part of the radio crew for USM football, and he is their analyst, and he is a former USM quarterback who actually led the Golden Eagles to a couple Conference USA championships back in the mid-'90s, and also took them to the Liberty Bowl win.
You know, I'm a USM fan, had been. I graduated from there, and, you know, I look backwards when I started following, and, you know, there was the Reggie Collier years, and you get them on up, and, you know, then, of course, you had what happened when Fedora was there, but in the middle of that was that run that the Golden Eagles has. That's one of the highlight periods of that program to me as a fan and the time I've been involved with watching it. So we're excited about having him with us tonight. And on that note, let's go ahead and get to that. But first, let's take a break to hear from some of our sponsors, and then we will be back with Lee Roberts after the words from those who helped make the Brouhaha possible. We'll see you after the break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Do you have any roof damage or missing shingles? Do you need a roof inspection to ensure your roof is functioning properly? Look no further than the roofing specialist Jackson Brothers Construction Services. We are here to service you with affordable prices, amazing customer service, and quality work you'll be proud of. Call us today at 251-295-6442.
The Jackson Brothers Construction Services. They'll do you right. You heard it here first.
Welcome to the show, Lee Roberts from the University of Southern Mississippi, one of our radio announcers for the Golden Eagles. How are you today, Lee?
Hey, I'm great. How are you guys?
We doing great. Hey, we're going to talk a little bit about USM football today. The game didn't go real well for the Eagles this past Saturday. They had some quarterback injuries again, and then tried a couple other fellas back there. So, I mean, last year it was coaches, and this year's it's quarterbacks, Lee.
You know, we're kind of bitten by the injury bug right now, to tell you the truth. And, you know, if you ask Will Hall about, you know, his offense, he would tell you, hey, I build my offense around the quarterback number one. And when he got here in January last year, that's exactly what he started to do. He started to build it around Trey Lowe, who was named the starter in the spring. And obviously knew Ty Keys was coming in. And, you know, when you lose both of those guys within your first 4 games of the season, you know, now you start scratching your head, what in the world do I do next? And, you know, playing basically a walk-on guy that had been running the scout team quarterback for this year. He had to get a couple starts. He had to activate a student coach. It's just been that year for us. You know, never really have seen anything like this, and I know Coach Hall has never really experienced anything like this. I mean, there's one thing to lose a quarterback, but to lose your top 2, and then even Saturday to lose your starter again and have to go further into the depth chart, it's pretty amazing. So hopefully we'll get some guys healthy soon.
Well, what about the defense? The defense seems like they're playing pretty solid.
No, they are. And, you know, if you get a chance to sit down and talk to Austin Armstrong, defensive coordinator at Southern Miss, what a brilliant and talented young coach. Just X's and O's. He knows it from top to bottom. Just a guy that, you know, can really get the best out of each of the players. And if you look at what the team we had from last year to this year, we really didn't lose but one player, a guy that got in the transfer portal and transferred away. But we pretty much have the same players as we did last year. And he's getting it out of them what they needed to. And, you know, we're getting back pretty healthy as well. We had some injuries on the defensive side of the ball, but I think Saturday we were about as healthy as we could be. but the team is really playing hard. It's a defense that, play a little bit of what they call kind of a man match. So you're used to, you kind of cover a certain area, and then once that area becomes part of the playing field, you then pick up that man. So it's kind of it's a difficult defense to play in. But he's done a really good job getting the guys believing, and that's exactly what they've done. So through 7 games, really outside of the Alabama game and then Saturday at UAB, they were only giving up about 15 or 16 points a game. So really, really tough defense.
What lies down the road for the Eagles? Are there any games that they might can compete in the rest of the schedule, or is it pretty loaded down strength-wise down the road too?
You know college football like I do. I mean, you've got to show up and you've got to play. Anything can happen on any given Saturday, and so I'm not going to say that we're going to win them all. I'm not going to say that we're not going to win any. Obviously, I think the open week has come at a really, really good time. The guys get a chance to get their legs back underneath them, kind of regroup as a team. Coaching staff gets an opportunity to get out of the office, to get on the recruiting trail, to really work on what the future of Southern Miss is going to be. So I think that one is going to help us. And then I think having Middle Tennessee on the schedule, I mean, that's a team that's a very beatable team. And really all it takes is winning that first game. I know we've got to win against Grambling State, but winning that first conference game of the year, team getting some confidence, really starting to get some momentum. If they could do that coming off the Middle Tennessee week, I mean, you never know what could happen the rest of conference play. But I'm not going to say it's an easy road. I think the back half of the season is probably the toughest part of our schedule. You look at what UTSA has done. Obviously, Louisiana Tech playing really, really good. But no, I think there are some games that we can compete in for sure.
Well, that's good news. Now, what about the quarterback situation? Will that be solved this year? As far as will any of the Lowe and Keys will they play any more this year, or are they out for the season?
I know it's been said that Trey Lowe is out for the year. Ty Keys out indefinitely, so I'm not sure exactly when or if he would have the chance to come back. And I'm not even sure the extent of what Jake Lang's injury from Saturday is. He had it appear to be somewhat of an ankle injury, and that's why we got to see T. Webb a little bit on Saturday. But again, I think Coach Hall's trying to figure it out. Who can be back there to give us the best opportunity? Jake Lang, 2 games in a row, I thought he played pretty well. We threw the football efficiently and effectively. Saturday wasn't the case. I know we've been, struggling a little bit up front on the offensive line, and it really doesn't all fall on them. Some obviously were missed assignments by the O-line, some missed assignments by the quarterback. But it definitely becomes a team effort. I do think Jake Lang possibly will come back after this next break, though.
Is the future for USM? Back when you played, back in the mid-'90s, Southern Miss was, one of the stronger teams in the Conference USA. How do you think all this conference realignment is going to be? Do you think there'll be a possibility of Southern being more in a regional area, or do you think it will just kind of keep going like it is right now?
I'm really not sure. Obviously a regional conference I think would be best for Southern Miss. It'd be best for a lot of different teams. It'd be best for the fan base. It'd be best financially. So I think that would be a huge benefit in many, many ways. And, whatever happens, however we fall, whatever conference we're in, if we stay in Conference USA or if we move to another one, or however the dominoes fall, I believe Jeremy McClain is getting us in the right situation and putting us in the right spot. But you're right. I mean, back in the 90s, early 2000s, Conference USA was a different conference, and pretty much everybody has moved on from Conference USA except for Southern Miss. And I'm not going to say it's because of play. It's because of a TV market, and we know Hattiesburg's just not the biggest TV market, and that's kind of hurt us in the past. So I think a regional conference would be one of the best things that could ever happen.
Are you surprised that a team like Cincinnati, that used to be one of the opponents for Southern Miss every year, is in the top 4 in the country. Does that surprise you? Would you have thought that, when you were playing against them?
Cincinnati was always a really, really good football team. I can say this: I never lost to Cincinnati. So Southern Miss dominated against the Bearcats back when I played back in the late '90s. But no, it doesn't surprise me because it's a growing program. It's an area where there's a lot of talent. They've done a great job recruiting as well, and kind of once you get on that national stage, that's what happens. Kids want to come play for those guys that are getting that exposure. So no, it doesn't surprise me a bit.
If you had to pick the 4 playoff teams as of today, who would be your top 4 in the whole college football?
Wow, that's a tough question. I think Georgia, sits atop, for sure right now. And I know Alabama's sitting there with a 1-loss team. It's hard to say they're not a top 4 contender team as well. I know, at some point they're going to have to face Georgia, and it's hard not to put Cincinnati right there in the middle of it as well. So I'd say there's maybe my 3 of my top 4. I don't know who I would slide in that 4th spot though. Regardless, I love the way the playoff system is. I love that, it's not down just to 2 teams. You do get that Final 4. I wish it would be expanded a little bit because there's always a team that's right on the bubble. That's that 5th team, that 6th team. If somebody comes in undefeated, it's hard to, keep them out of a playoff system. So I'd love to see it expanded for sure. But there really is some good football teams out there. But I would think those 3 right now would be, 3 of my top 4.
Okay. How's football changed since you played as far as, the players or the game itself on the field?
The game is always evolving. Obviously, the game, is moving at a faster pace. You can see this. I mean, you can see what Ole Miss did this past weekend. They ran 100 plays plus on offense, and so it's moving at a very, very high pace. And a lot of teams are doing that. A lot of teams are kind of in that hurry-up system. And, I see it every Saturday when we're broadcasting because the teams get to the line of scrimmage really, really fast, and they can either snap the ball or they can pause and look to the sideline. So in that regard, it has done that. We didn't do a lot of calls at the line of scrimmage when I played. It was a play that was called. I would make a check at the line of scrimmage, but it really was never pause and everyone stand up and check the sideline. So that's a big way. I mean, and then obviously just the way the kids are growing, they're continuing to get bigger, faster, and stronger. The alignments of the conferences obviously have changed. I think overall college football is much better today as far as athletics go. Now on the flip side, and again the name, image, and likeness deal, that's changed a huge bit as well. So many kids now getting the opportunity to make some money doing some different things. I've always been for kids getting paid a little bit, but at some point you got to kind of say, hey, enough is enough as far as that goes. That really does change the look of the game for sure.
It does, and like you said, it's changing every year. All right, let's get to high school football for just a second. Get your thoughts like that, because I know that you go to some Oak Grove games because you have a son playing for Oak Grove. But tell us about what you you're thinking on high school football in Mississippi.
I love high school football here in Mississippi. Obviously didn't grow up, but have been here really, I'd say 15 out of my 20-plus years of being removed from athletics and removed from college I've spent here. So I've gotten a chance now to see a lot of different games. I've seen, one Oak Grove, that's where my kids go. I've seen them win, a couple state championships, which is exciting. Obviously back in the day, the South Panolas were kind of the dominating team in the North. That's all changed a little bit. I know as far as 6A goes, Oak Grove's kind of standing at the top right now. It's got some really tough games going in the Jackson area of the next couple of weeks, but kind of one of the surprises. I think Petal's right there on the cusp as well. It's playing pretty good football now as well. I think as the season goes, you've got to play your best football towards the end of the year. Obviously you want to make the playoffs, and once you do, you want to be kind of be on that high, if you will. And I love college. I mean, I love high school football. It's a great atmosphere. 6A football in Mississippi is pretty strong.
Well, tell us, my final question for Marshall is going to ask you a couple is, tell us about what your thoughts on Greenville Christian were.
When I first heard that Oak Grove was going to get the opportunity to play Greenville Christian, I was like, where? Are we talking about in Greenville, Mississippi, Greenville, Alabama? First of all, I wasn't sure where they were out of, and just what a really neat story with that team. And even the athletic side is much bigger than what the story even shows. They came in here, and it just shows you right now how good they are and how talented. They're having trouble getting games scheduled each week. But they came in, a very, very talented, well-coached team that, had athletes all across the board on the offensive side, on the defensive side. I know there's a couple guys on there that are, some SEC commits, some Conference USA commits. So very, very talented all across the board. I thought their running game was as strong as I've seen in high school football.
Listen, this is Marshall Lee. I just want to. I'm a USM grad, by the way. Go Eagles, But
yes,
anyway,
sir.
I remember when
top.
Yes, sir. I want to get personal with you a little bit and talk about Lee Roberts for a couple of moments. Looking back at your time at USM, I mean, it was a great time for USM football, and you had a big role in that. When you look back, what would you say if you had to pick a highlight, and it could be on the field, off the field? If you could pick a highlight from that time of your life, what would it be?
Well, as far as a highlight in a game, I would have to say the '97 Liberty Bowl.
Oh, that was a great game.
I'm a guy that, if I have success, I want to make sure that, I credit the teammates with me. And, if you look at what Southern Miss football is all about, and if you watch that Liberty Bowl in '97, you would say, hey, that's about as good as you could be all the way around, because offensively, I thought we played excellent. Defensively, almost error-free. And then special teams, we made big plays on special teams, and it all kind of came together. And that's really what it takes. I mean, you've got to win in all phases these days to be successful. If you're a high-powered offense with no defense, then you're gonna win some 56 to 49 games and lose some 48 to 45 games. But I just think having three different phases is super important, and that's one thing that the '97 team exemplified. And and again, something about that team putting a lot of guys in the NFL. I know that's not what it's all about, but it just shows you the talent that was on that team, and really the talent that Southern Miss brings in to really help produce kids and get them to that next level. But yeah, my one highlight for sure would be the Liberty Bowl in '97.
I'm going to kind of come to the here and now and look at your role as an analyst, color commentator, whatever properly fits from a name standpoint. What goes into what you do now, with USM and the broadcasting? What goes into getting ready and explain what you go through on a daily or a weekly basis to prepare for this?
We rely on the sports information departments, for one, from Southern Miss, and Jack Duggan does an outstanding job, and his assistants, as far as just being able to get us information about Southern Miss. Obviously, as the season goes on, you really get to know, your team, and then you receive information from the opposing teams. Just as, TV crews, when they come in, get information. So that really helps you to start the preparation. They'll send out different game notes. It gives you, a 2-deep depth chart that you get to go through and try to familiarize yourself with the players as much as you can. And then, we try to meet with coaches every week to talk about, what's taking place on the field, how kids responded, what's going on, what do you expect this week from the opponents, and then obviously even really before the season, getting out to practice, seeing the kids, in person. So there's a lot of different preparation that goes on. But I think one of the biggest things is, how the SID department really backs us and gives us the info that we need, and two, getting the chance to sit down with coaches and really getting personal, trying to figure out, different schemes that they're going to use for the week.
Yeah, getting to know these players and these coaches like you do, I'm sure that's a great experience in itself, and it's like it's fluid. It's always changing. Well, Lee, I hate to tell you this, but we're about out of time, but we sure do appreciate you, all you do for our region down here and have done and continue to do. We're thankful for you. Thank you for your time. So we're going to have to cut loose for a minute to hear from some of our sponsors, and when we do, we'll be back for more of the Brouhaha after this word. All righty, now that we're off the air again. Lee, we sure do appreciate this very, very much.
Hey, appreciate you guys as well. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Southern Miss to the top, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's get us a win or two down the road.
Well, you know, Bobby Howell coached over here in Wayne County in the 2000 season, and kind of got this Wayne County football back on its feet. And I don't know if you know much about it, but we probably had about 15 years of great success. You know, we've kind of fallen on hard times the last couple years, but our series with Oak Grove's unique. We beat them the first 5 times we played them, and they beat us the last 9. So, you know, it's kind of one of those series, you know. Of course, they are a great team now. Anyway, appreciate you, Lee, and
appreciate you guys.
We'll see you down the road. Thank you so much.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
that sounds good. Yes, sir.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Do you have any roof damage or missing shingles? Do you need a roof inspection to ensure your roof is functioning properly? Look no further than the roofing specialist Jackson Brothers Construction Services. We are here to service you with affordable prices, amazing customer service, and quality work you'll be proud of. Call us today at 251-295-6442.
The Jackson Brothers Construction Services. They'll do you right. You heard it here first.
Welcome back, everybody. Dale, it sure was good to have Lee with us. You know, USM is such a big part of our region in every respect, and we're fortunate to have the black and gold fever or flavor. I don't know if we're fever yet, but we got the flavor tonight, and we appreciate you and the guests that you keep bringing here week after week. Some things that occurred over the weekend, Dale, that I'd like to address with you and get your twist on this so we can hammer on this a bit. Like you said, you watched some football this weekend, and I'm sure you were tuned in to the battle up there in Knoxville between the Rebels, you know, and the Volunteers. And there was something that happened in that contest, and everybody that knows anything or is involved in football in any way saw what happened at the end of that game with the bottle chunking and what all that wound up on that field. Now, I'm sitting there looking at that contest, and I'm there watching it, and I'm wondering, well, you know, what's going to happen because of that? You know, and what I saw there and what I've been able to, and some cursory reviews on the internet about rules, I don't know that there's any rules that I found against throwing anything on the field. I mean, do you know of any rules? I mean, obviously there was nothing they could enforce.
No, not the refs could do, and I was listening to a little bit of the radio broadcast while that was going on just to see what their take was at David Kellums and Harry Harrison, and they set up in the press box that the conference head official down there over the football officials said they could not end the game, that they had to play the game to the fullest. And that seemed like that would have been a safety problem to me. If that happened in a high school football game, I'm sure that the refs have permission. Hey, we're out of here because, you know, there's safety concerns here. And so that's what's puzzling to me. But I think something's going to come out of this.
There needs to be at least a rule: don't throw anything on the field. You know, and I'm sitting here, you know, they left their band and their cheerleaders, they left, and those people sitting on the front, had I been in that first section of seats, I'd have been climbing the stairs trying to get out of that line of fire real quick.
Well, you know, I've experienced that before locally in Hattiesburg one night. Mississippi State came down. All state fans were up in the upper deck at Southern, and I was down in the bottom deck. And we got splashed with beer down there.
Oh, no.
And then another time.
At Southern?
Yeah.
Oh, no. You got to be mistaken.
Yeah, after a state touchdown. And then I remember one time I'm sitting next to one of my friends, and we're on the visitor side, but there were some fans up up top, of course. And I don't know how it happened. I looked over at his hair. He had a lot of blonde hair. I looked over it, and there was mustard in it. Not a mustard packet, but mustard. And I'm thinking, it had to come from up top, you know. So things like that happen, but, you know, that's, you know, we always thought that was part of the ball game, you know, I guess. Just fans acting foolish like that. But that the other night, you know, you started throwing golf balls and things like that. That seemed like a little out of character for anybody. But now listen, there's 102,000 people there, and I guarantee you, I don't think 102,000 people were involved in that. But the ones that were, you know, I wish they would have understood what they were doing.
You know, I was when I watched the fans began to fill in those vacated spots by the band. They were just rushing down those steps to get there closer to the field. I went back to 1985 to a soccer game I was watching on TV in out of South America, and there was 600 injuries in that game and 35 deaths when people got. I don't know if you remember that or not, but something has got to be done to stop that from happening.
Sure, and they do have that a lot over in Europe too. You talking about soccer, you know, people going kind of wild to where people do end up losing their lives.
I guess we're at a point in our society where you have to say, you know, you ought to know this, but we got to tell you anyway, don't throw anything on the field. I'm going to swap directions with you for a minute. Let's go over across the Mississippi. Well, get over there on the banks of the Mississippi River to Louisiana State University, and let's talk about Coach O. Coach O, it seems, and I need you to explain this to me. He's been terminated, but they're going to let him coach the rest of the year. Now, is that a common practice? I mean, how does the university even recruit during these next 2 months?
Well, you know, if I was a college AD, I would already have who I was wanting to replace him already kind of in line. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
And so I don't really know, you know, that doesn't usually happen. They usually promote somebody from within because that's how he got the job. You know, they let Les Miles go and Coach Orgeron took over in the middle of the season. But Coach Orgeron might have said, okay, you know, if you want me gone, let me finish the season. You know, I don't know what went on, but I do know there's a lot of off-the-field issues with the LSU program that might have something to do with the way this was handled. And I'm saying that is that, and I'm just getting my information from some of my sports writers fans, that there could be something going on down there where they didn't want to pay him his guarantee. So I don't know if they're going to pay him his guarantee or not, but it's like $21 million, and you know, so I don't know. He's going to get something, I'm for sure, but still, you know, if somebody gave me $21 million and told me, hey, you don't need to come to work anymore, I'd say okay.
Thanks for shopping.
Yes, sir.
Let's turn our attention. We'll get back to the larger picture and look at it from a national level. We're gonna end up here hopefully at the playoff spots. I mean, I know you know we broached that subject with Lee, and he came up with a couple of them. We're going to talk about this. I just want to do a quick glance right here at CUSA, and you know, people that can make some noise. Of course, these guys aren't really in the hunt, but there's two teams out there in Texas in the Conference USA, CUSA West. UTSA is 7-0, and UTEP is 6-1. So those guys seem to be, they're both on the same side of that bracket, but they seem to be the bell cows in that league right now.
Yeah, I think UTSA, well, that's University of Texas San Antonio, they went up to, I think, Illinois and defeated Illinois early in the year. So now I don't think Illinois is one of the stronger teams in the Big Ten, but still it was a Big Ten team. So, you know, they may have a, you know, but I don't know how they base that power ratings and who you play and all this on how they figure all that up. But, you know, they have they do, those two teams are the best two.
Let's turn our attention. Let's turn our attention to the let's see, the Big Ten. I think you mentioned them, and if you look down at the Big Ten, the West, you see Illinois. They're 1-3 overall in conference, 2-5 overall. But let's go up here to the East side. That's where the power lies up here to me. And you got right now, this is really interesting. It's going to be an interesting ride the rest of the way. You got Michigan State sitting there at 7-0, Michigan at 6-0. Ohio State 5-1, Penn State at 5-1. You know, they lost their quarterback. I don't know if they're going to get him back or not. They're certainly a better team with him. But you look at what could happen, and this has certainly playoff ramifications right here when you look at the Big Ten East. I mean, I'm going to say that Ohio State, with that offense they've got, I think when the smoke clears, they're probably going to be the one that comes out of there, and in so doing, they're going to have a really good opportunity to make it into the into the Final Four.
Yes, and of course in that Big Ten West, you know, Iowa was upset this past weekend, and you know, had their first loss, and I thought they were an excellent football team watching them, but their offense kind of let them down Saturday when they played Purdue.
Let's turn our attention to get a little closer to home. Look at the SEC. We'll look at the West first, you know, and Alabama's sitting there 6-1 overall, 3-1. You know, Ole Miss is 2-1. Auburn is 2-1. Auburn's been an interesting team so far this year. I was talking to my son the other day. We talk a lot about football, and he was saying, you know, Auburn's not getting any love. This was before the week. They've lost 2 games. They lost at Penn State, you know, in a close game up there at night, and then Georgia beat them, and they weren't even ranked, you know, until this past weekend. I mean, you can't tell what's liable to happen coming out of those plains over there.
No, but I think Alabama and Auburn may be playing for the West title before it's over. But now Alabama, they've already played 4 SEC games. They've won 3 of them. But they've got Tennessee this weekend, and then they still have LSU, Arkansas. Let's see, Tennessee, LSU, Arkansas, and Auburn left. And I think they're stronger than all those 4, so it could come down to that final ball game.
On the other side of that deal, you're looking at Georgia, and I think Georgia is in a class by themselves. Their defense is giving up, 5.5 points a game. They're allowing 203 yards total offense a game. I mean, that may be one of the best. That's the best college defense that I can remember seeing.
Yes, they're very strong, especially on that defense end. And, you know, they've got a Jones County Junior College transfer as their quarterback, the Bennett boy. Yeah. He played at Jones 3 years ago.
He's doing a good job for him. Let's do right quick. You know, here's what I'm looking at in the playoffs. I'm going Georgia. Cincinnati's not going to get beat. They're already in there. They're going to stay. That's hard to believe, but they're going to be there. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State's going to determine, you know, a spot right there, and I'm going to say it's going to be Oklahoma. And then, you know, Alabama, you know, if they lose to Georgia, if they make it to Georgia, and if they lose to Georgia, they'll be a 2-loss team. They won't make it.
No, I don't think they will because of just the way it ranks up. But, you know, I think the Big Ten's going to decide who the final 4th team is, because of the fact that you have Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State and Penn State all playing so well.
Well, listen, we're about out of time. We're not about out of time. We're out of time. So, again, Dale, we appreciate you. We appreciate Lee for being with us tonight, and we appreciate you for listening in. Be sure to join us or follow us during the week on the Brouhaha on Facebook, and tune in to us next week for more of the Brouhaha. Take us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.